So welcome back to Favorite Friday. For the second case for this week, we are going back to Chicago. This case is said to have actually been a pretty well-known case. If anybody lives in the Chicago area or nearby, or you definitely remember hearing about this case, definitely let me know. Apparently this case is pretty much very graphic, and so just a heads up on that. But of course, as always, if you knew anybody involved in the case, whether it be the victim, killers, the siblings, where they're at now, definitely let me know. I'm gonna give what's publicly known, sources down below as always. And we'll quit my rambling, and let's go and get started. So Lattie McGee Jr. was born December 29th, 1982 to Alicia Abraham, and obviously assuming he's junior, obviously his father would be Lattie Sr. Now Lattie Sr. apparently is not in the picture. We're mostly focused on Alicia, the mother, and her partner. Alicia was born on February 28th, 1961, and Lattie apparently had an older brother named Cornelius and like 2 other siblings. So in 1984, so Lattie's not even a year yet, apparently like the Department of Human Services was basically called on Alicia regarding alleged neglect on her children. She was given a year probation and the charges were dropped. So it doesn't specify when, but Lattie and his family basically would eventually become homeless. Of course, you can imagine there are shelters, so they didn't go to the shelter because obviously that's a more preferable option than actually living out on the streets, especially when you have vulnerable children. So they go to the shelter, and apparently at the shelter, I guess it's like a co-ed shelter, like male and females, because this is where she meets Johnny Campbell. Johnny Campbell was born August 27th, 1949. Apparently he was working at like a U.S. steel place for like 16 years before he lost that job due to like becoming an alcoholic. So we don't have an exact time period on this because it says in February or March of 1987, but we do know it's within like that early springtime era. Basically, Johnny would move in. I guess Alicia gets a place with her kids, and Johnny moves in, so he has a place to stay too, so he's no longer at the shelter. And then Johnny would apparently start beating Lattie after accusing Lattie and his siblings of being gay, even though these are like prepubescent kids. And Alicia and Johnny apparently would stuff a rag in Lattie's mouth whenever he was crying, because obviously if you're being beaten, you're obviously going to be crying. Johnny apparently did not like Lattie's voice, saying that it was like effeminate, so like too feminine, because like it was high pitched, because you know he's a kid, he hasn't hit puberty, obviously it's gonna be a little high. And basically apparently would try to starve him to like toughen him up, and then apparently would beat him if he ever complained. So then in June 1987, because Lattie's not the only one getting hit, apparently Cornelius is getting it too. He pretty much hit Cornelius, and Cornelius pretty much lost a tooth because of this. And there's another point where apparently boiling hot water was poured on Cornelius. So there's one day where apparently Johnny is yanking Lattie back and forth, and it causes a bone to like pretty much pop out of place. Johnny, apparently assuming he knows what the hell he's doing, he proceeds to hit him again, try to put the bone back into place. But it pretty much causes like a lump in his throat becomes swollen, and then as you can imagine, he can't eat properly after this. Johnny would later claim that he was actually baiting Lattie twice a day because he was worried that like he was gonna get his injuries were gonna get infected. Apparently there was that one bath where Lattie claimed that the water was too hot, and then apparently Johnny was scrubbing Lattie's skin, and apparently he was doing it like too hard because obviously the hot water and you're scrubbing him pretty hard. So then you imagine their skin coming off. So on the fateful day of August 14th, 1987, Johnny would apparently hit Lattie with his fists and sticks, burn him with cigarettes, so cigarette burns in an iron, prick him with sewing needles, before being dunked in some boiling hot water. So then if that wasn't bad enough, then he gets the rag stuffed into his mouth, but potato peels taped to his eyes, his hands are bound, and he's pretty much hung up in the closet. And the next day, Lattie is still alive, but apparently, as you can imagine, he is begging for water, even though he can't really drink it, because remember, like I said, the bone that's in his throat, the injury that Johnny caused. So then Johnny's like, even though Lattie's like, I think like 4 or 5, he's basically saying, telling Lattie to like be a man, do it yourself. So then Lattie apparently is let down by Johnny, but apparently he also can't walk because of the pain that he's in. And Alicia apparently made hot dogs, but like I said, Lattie can't eat because of the injury in his throat. So somewhere later in the day, Johnny is basically saying that Lattie basically hit his head either on the sink and then hit his head again while I was bathing him, and he pretty much went limp. Alicia would say, oh, I was out with my sisters, so I can't tell you anything about what happened. So whatever happened to him, he did it. And then apparently she would come back home and see Johnny trying to check Lattie's anus, basically saying that his own brother Cornelius Cornelius had apparently raped him. Obviously, that's not what happened, but that's basically what Johnny was trying to say. Basically trying to save his ass. So I guess Johnny decided to eventually confess that he was the one who killed Lattie, because that's basically what he proceeds to tell Alicia. So then they proceed to dress Lattie basically before calling police, so that way it makes it look less suspicious on their part. So then his ruled cause of death was basically like a blow to the head that basically slowly killed him. He apparently is also said to have had a staph infection that was basically the size of a baseball on his neck, and he's only 4 years old. So they also believe that that may have been a factor into his death, and he only weighed 26 pounds when they weighed him post-mortem. And apparently there was like community outrage because of this case, rightfully so. So in the community, they get together, they pay for his headstone, because headstones are like hella expensive. Alicia basically tells DCFS that she didn't tell them about the abuse that Lattie and his siblings were going through, because she was scared that she would get accused, because remember, she had the past record of neglecting and abusing them in the past. So then a little bit about Cornelius, which remember is Lattie's brother. Basically, Cornelius would say, look, the day after Lattie died, our mom was watching Incredible Hulk instead of checking on Lattie like she claimed. So pretty much like disproving Alicia's story right then and there. In 1990, it said he actually was invited to go watch a Miami Heat game, and he was actually able to go sit next to Michael Jordan, who was on the team at the time, and basically sat next to him when he wasn't playing, and obviously when he was playing, because he's a pretty well-known player, so they had him out on the field pretty often. It's not the field, sorry, the court pretty often. He pretty much would say Michael C. So then Cornelius, of course, will go live with his father, because obviously mother's in jail for pretty much being involved in killing his brother. Unfortunately, it said he apparently was actually homeless for like 3 months, only at the age of 12. He would apparently go to a foster home. He stays with them, from what it looks like. He is able to graduate high school, and in 1999, the YMCA apparently awards him with a reward actually named after him. And basically this award is for giving hope to children who have been abused. And then I'm sorry, to go back to 1990, both Abraham and Johnny were sentenced to life without parole, and they both are currently in there to this day. So of course that's the case of Lattie McGee. Like I said, this case did have some community outrage, so if you lived in Chicago, you knew anybody involved in the case, whether it be killers, victims, you lived in nearby areas, definitely let me know. If you have any cases that are similar to this, that are not, like, I guess, nationally known, definitely let me know, because those cases do deserve to be covered too, especially if we're talking about children here. And so with that being said, that's all I have for this case. I cover fatal females 3 times a week. Subscribe for more fatal females, and I'll see y'all at the next one. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion, even though I offer all of the solutions. I wish you loved me like I love you, it's stupid. When I'm alone with you I never feel lucid. I wish I wasn't struck by Cupid. I wish when I first saw you I knew this. When I'm with you I feel so useless, I feel diluted, my heart's been wounded. Silhouettes